Hey guys, what's going on? You're watching the Bitter Cherry podcast. This is episode 36, 35, 36, one of the two. And we are at 36. I can remember numbers. We're here tonight to talk about the HOH and who they nominated within the Big Brother 20 house. You're here today with Kelly.
And I'm Jacob.
And I'm Ryan.
How are you guys doing tonight?
That's it. I'm sad, because Sean's not here. But it'll be okay. Because
he'll make it through.
Honestly, this is like the highlight of my day. So if I'm going to be okay at any time, it's going to be right now.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. We'll try to keep you together, Kelly. We'll try to keep you together. So yeah, this is an interesting episode. We sort of get to see Scotty make some moves and make some decisions that I think we're all sort of waiting for him to make. The episode sort of opens with him deciding to ask two questions of or have one-on-ones or two-on-ones with the house guests and ask them two questions. First question being, what was up with that Steve vote? Because I'm still mad about it. And the second one being, like, who are you most afraid of in the house? And his plan is to, no matter what they say to that second question, he's gonna say that they all said Winston and Brett. What do you guys think of this sort of game planning that we saw in the beginning from Scotty?
I kind of like it. I think that it hopefully it became obvious at the house, like, on which two sides the people fell in the house. I don't know if I'm saying that clearly, because Tyler pointed out that, oh my God, he knows about level 6, because with the first question of what happened with the Steve vote, Angela said that she voted for Sam. Like, basically all of level 6 except for Brett and Winston said that they voted to keep Sam. And since he's already targeting Brett and Winston, then it makes it obvious. So hopefully he would be able to not just say that everyone said Brett and Winston, but rather the majority of the house. That way, I don't know, it kind of covers his tracks a little bit, because it's not because obviously Angela's not going to say that. Right. Casey's not going to say that. So hopefully he's done that.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent move from Scotty. I think in the first few weeks we saw him be pretty detached socially from the house. So I think his goal in an HOH should be to try to build some kind of social and better alliance for himself. And right. I do think that the other side, the non-level 6 side, is the more likely of the sides where he could actually entrench himself and find some real alliance members. So I think targeting the other side is a pretty good idea if he can use it to get in close with the other side. Obviously, it's a little scary because he has some people coming after him now, but I thought it was a solid move.
It was really kind of refreshing for me to see somebody as a strategy nerd, to see somebody go in with this is my 3-step plan to get to make the nominations that I want to make. He had a list written out of this is exactly how I'm going to do it, and he did it to varying success.
Basically, you're happy that you're seeing people play Big Brother.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that there's some. We're not talking about auras this week. We're talking about okay, these are at least some reasons that make sense that I can get the people that I want on the block. But yeah, some of these conversations, at least the way they edited them, didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I forget who it was, but it was one of either Casey or who was in the room with Casey? It was Was it Casey and Angela? One of them said when he asked the question who scares you the most, he got the answer, I don't really want to tell you that. Which if that was
I think it was Angela.
If that's all that there was to that conversation, I don't think that is a very smart thing to say to an HOH. What do you guys think?
Definitely
that felt like a weird edit to me. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah.
It seemed like a very strange edit because I don't feel like anyone would say that. I don't even think Fessy would say that. And Fessy is clearly the person that knows the least about this game. But yeah, and then we saw a conversation that was very strangely edited to me anyway, between Tyler and RHOH, where Tyler's realizing that, oh snap, he's thinking about putting up some people that are on my side of things. What do I do? And we see an edit where he's like sort of gobsmacked the entire time that he's having this conversation, and I don't think that's how the conversation actually played out. I would be very surprised if Tyler just sat there and said nothing for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think in the real conversation he did try to push Rockstar a little harder than it was shown on the show. But I am pretty proud of Tyler for like letting something go and realizing that you can't push every single thing in the Big Brother house. Otherwise you're too big of a target. So
yeah, it was really nice to see him sort of take a back seat because like he was really making a big target out of himself for the first 2 weeks because he was in the middle of everything, which is fun and fun. But we've seen people that have been in the middle of everything go home very quickly
Swaggy.
in the first 4 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Swaggy's a prime example. So it was really cool to sort of see that.
We hadn't seen that yet, and I was worried that we would just see Tyler just keep his foot on the gas until it hit something. So so it was cool to see. You know, he's smarter than that, and it's cool to see that. But it is fun when his foot's on the gas too. So
yeah.
Didn't Tyler have like basically people in the L6 go up and say, "Hey, I think that you should target Rockstar," and then Tyler went basically what Swaggy had done in like the first week, but now Tyler did a version of it. Did that happen?
Yeah, so what Tyler did was he had people go in a very chill Tyler-esque way was like, hey, I think this might be a good idea. You guys should go and see if you can plant the seeds of Rockstar, and I'll go in and be the closer. And it seemed like he did a very good job of pivoting once he knew that Scotty wasn't buying. So
Scotty was having none of it. He was just like, there's no way I'm putting Angie up. Like, she's on my side for now. Like, I get what you're saying, but I need to... He really wanted to even out the sides and take out a big threat. So he was having none of it.
Did you guys find it interesting at all that when he was naming people that he wants to work with, that Tyler wasn't anywhere in that picture?
When Scotty was naming it?
When he was talking about being happy to be HOH, he talked about wanting to work with Rockstar and that sort of what was left of the Faute Alliance, and he didn't bring up Tyler at all, which I thought was interesting.
I didn't like really click that until you just said that, and that
neither did I.
That kind of speaks volumes about where Scotty actually lies. So it really seems like it's more than just trying to even out the numbers. Like he's trying to take, obviously based on his noms, like he's trying to take a bigger hit at the L6 side, but when push comes to shove, like Scotty will probably turn on Tyler when Tyler's not fully expecting it.
Yeah, which is nice to see because I was under the impression that Tyler had kind of coddled Scotty and brought him in at the right time, and then wasn't really taking full advantage of having Scotty be HOH. But it seems like they really aren't that close. And Scotty is ready to sort of spread his wings a little bit, for the lack of a better word, and make a big move.
Do you think maybe he's started to recognize that? Because like he noticed that Tyler was in Caitlin's ear all last week. So maybe that's why he's like, oh, I can't be aligned. Like, I don't want to go super far with this person. Didn't he notice that, or am I misremembering?
I don't really remember. Do you remember, Ryan, if Tyler had clued in on the Caitlyn thing?
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone realizes like how close Caitlyn and Tyler are and how big of an influence Tyler probably had in those noms. So yeah, I think Scotty definitely does realize that's the case. But I mean, you can just tell like how like Tyler pushed pretty hard for a little bit on what he wanted to change Scotty's mind on, and Scotty really did not not care at all what Tyler wanted to do. So you can tell that he's not really super interested in caring what Tyler wants to do for Tyler's game.
Right. It's refreshing to see. We've seen a lot of his influence, and it's cool to see Scotty sort of take the reins here. What do you anybody else kind of stand out to you guys this week? At least early in the episode that you guys kind of saw a different side to.
Like before the whole like Brett and Winston freaking out about Sam vote thing, like that kind of stand out.
Yeah. So anything before that? Anything before? Okay. Okay. So we can jump into the meat of the episode, which is like who is gonna get put up by by Scotty. I mean, I wasn't super surprised by this, but like it was really interesting to see what sort of transpired as this episode was unfolding, because we saw two really different approaches to Scotty as an HOH. What did you guys think of Brett's approach to Scotty as opposed to Winston's?
Ryan, I kind of like, because we were talking before the podcast about Brett's whole thing. I like what you were talking about. Can you mention what you had talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Scotty seemed to think that this was some groundbreakingly amazing pitch. And I just felt like it was kind of standard campaigning. You know, he's trying to – they had put themselves in a rough spot, Winston and Brett, because they kind of made this story up to Scotty before any of this before Scotty won, that they kept Steve and all this, like, and it was really Haley and Rockstar that voted Steve out, just to kind of grab some points with Scotty. But I don't think they really thought this far out that, like, if Scotty wins HOH, it's so obvious that they're lying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it was that impressive of a pitch that Brett made, but it did make an impact on Scotty. Scotty did think it was a pretty impressive speech, which actually hurt Brett in the end because it made him seem like more of a threat. But yeah, I didn't think it was all that crazy of a convincing spiel.
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that impact because, I mean, Scotty had already been talking about how he thought that between the two, Brett was the stronger one. But the fact that, like, he would go off and mention it in his Noms speech that, Brett, you're super charismatic, like, I almost believed it. I was really trying to believe everything that you were selling me. Like, that should be a huge red flag to Brett. And I don't know if, like, he's picked that up yet, that if Scotty gets his way, and then Brett should be the one who's going home this week, not Winston.
I haven't seen Brett speak much on what he thinks about who's going to go home if those two stay on the block. I don't really know what's in Brett's head this week. It seems like I haven't heard him say, like, oh, I'm so screwed, like they're going to vote me out over when. Like, I haven't really heard him talk much game, honestly, this week at all. So
that's not well. They're probably just waiting till after Veto.
Right.
What was interesting is that when they were in the diary room talking about their bromance, like we saw two very different takes on the level of the bromance, and I thought sort of the takes would be reversed. Like Winston was the one that was like, yeah, I'm totally using this bromance for game purposes, and like, which is not what I expected. And we saw Brett be like, yeah, like outside of this house, you know, Winston would be like my best bro, which is what, and I totally thought Brett would be the one sort of using Winston, but it seems to be at least in that diary room session sort of flipped.
I actually, it kind of makes sense to me considering how paranoid Winston has been. Like, because if you're paranoid like all the time, you're obviously thinking about game all the time. So Winston would be thinking like, okay, how does this benefit me within the game? Versus Brett, he might not be thinking about that. And I genuinely think that Brett is doing a better job at it because he's not seen as this paranoid person.
For sure.
Yeah, but I mean, both, I feel like they're just two sides of the same coin. I think that they both, fingers crossed, like they both benefit from it because they could both be seen as like the bros, even though they are seen as lions. But also I do think that outside of the house, like we're going to be seeing a lot of, like they're going to be connecting a lot and they'll be talking to each other a lot outside of the house for sure.
Yeah, we might have a Dr. Will and
Boogie
and Boogie situation, best friends forever, you know. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how that dynamic has sort of taken shape this week. And I know that Kelly and I have both had really busy weeks, and I know that Ryan, you're a feed monster. So what can you tell us about sort of how this week has played out? I guess before Veto, in terms of how Winston and Brett are handling being on the block.
So before Veto, Winston. Honestly, in the episode, it seemed like Winston was more prepared for what was going to happen. To me, on the feeds, it seemed like he was very blindsided by this. I think they felt like they had put together a solid pitch to Scotty and that they weren't going to be on the block. And Winston was very angry when he was put on the block. He went right up to Scotty's room and he said, basically, like, you are done. This was the stupidest move you could have made. The line is drawn in the sand. I'm going to win the veto, and you're out. Like, you're my number one target until you're out. Like, he was.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, I mean, before veto too. Like, that's just like, because if someone wins, Scotty could change his mind on what he wants to happen for the week. Like, it's too early for that. Yeah. Yeah, he told people that like he wants to. I mean, obviously, it didn't feel to me like a serious like threat or anything, but he was like, "I want to take Scotty up, choke him against the locker, or whatever, something."
Just like in high school,
yeah.
Which
is
exactly. A really troubling thing to say because
Definitely.
I would my whole high school experience never had anyone putting I don't even remember like seeing anyone. Put up against the locker and choke.
I feel like that's a total movie thing, and so that's what sort of like lessened the threat to me, because it seemed like such a cliche high school bully thing to say. I don't think anybody actually does that, and if Winston is outing himself as the person that does that, I don't think it's very smart for him. But
and then the rest of the house kind of was like just saying like, "Oh, that was so stupid. Why is Winston freaking out?" So I don't know. It's making people see that Winston is the worst player, which might actually weirdly help. Like it's a weird dynamic because Brett's doing things that are right, and Winston's doing things that are wrong, and like it's kind of reverse helping. Like the things that Brett isn't doing wrong is kind of hurting him. Yeah,
like last season with Josh.
Totally. Yeah, it's a similar thing. Yeah, I totally see that.
Right.
Maybe it's just because the game has like been around long enough to where it's evolved. So people are like, oh, I can see that I can use this as a target for next week versus Brett. Like since he's doing like what you're supposed to do while you're on the block, then that's that's like a signal that, oh, we need to get this person out because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it shows some awareness.
So now because of that, we have people weighing whether, okay, Brett's definitely the better player. Does that mean we want to keep him because he's going to help us? Or does that mean we want to get rid of him because it's our chance to get rid of him and he's a good player, So that's what people are kind of weighing right now.
It's so interesting because neither of these people have won HOH. Neither of these people have won veto. Like, Winston, like, he timed out on the veto that he played in. So,
wild.
Yeah, so, like, why... I mean, I guess you're just basing it on social game alone. Because, right? Like, that's all... Or are they also, like, are they genuinely being like, oh, this person can go off and win veto for me if I need it?
I mean, it's definitely... With Brett, they're talking about his social game, that he's playing good social game. He has really good relationships with people in the house that even he's not aligned with game-wise. And then, like, you can't look at a guy that's that ripped and, like, in shape and, like, not be a little worried about what he can potentially do in competitions, even if it hasn't happened yet. So I think it's a little bit of both.
That's true. One thing that sort of stuck out to me in the episode was the edit that they gave Bailey, where she seemed to be, like, recovering from the shock that was the Swaggy eviction and, like, ready to be Wonder Woman and take over the game. I feel like I want to buy that edit because I drafted her and I want to have that hope. But Ryan, like, you've been watching the feeds and you've been dissecting that. Is that backed up at all? Is she having more conversations? I definitely think it.
Yeah, I definitely think it is. Like, she's way more in the thick of things than she was when Swaggy was there. She's been having a lot of conversations.
Can you try putting your mic a little closer to your mouth?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So she's been having a lot more conversations with all the girls on the non-level 6 side. So yeah, like they're all talking game with her. She's been talking to Fessy a lot. She told Fessy about her power. She seems to be getting really close with him, and she's also getting a little close with Rachel too, which is interesting. Yeah, so those two are getting closer and closer, and like dropping hints, like I think that you're like you would be a good person to go far with, stuff like that. So that's an interesting. We'll see where that goes. They definitely haven't like solidified anything yet, but I do think Bailey is way more in the game than she was before. Yeah, I think it's an accurate edit in this case.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So you think that having Swaggy be evicted is gonna really help her game?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I did think Swaggy was a decent player, but he was just like he was too wrapped up in the drama. I think that definitely.
And he didn't have a good feel on the house.
Yeah, that's true. And they were also like one of those showmances that isolates themselves quite a bit, so that's just never good.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's definitely gonna help her for sure, especially getting the power app, on the back of it. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we should probably talk about that. Okay, so we've seen some power apps unleashed in the house with vastly different levels of power. We saw Sam's thing, which is like whatever, and Tyler's thing is a little bit more powerful. But then this one that Bailey gets her hands on, wow, it's a doozy. Talk us through this power, Ryan. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And what we didn't see on the show is there's some stipulation about the HOH is not allowed to say. They're not. First of all, they're not going to know who it was, obviously, that used the power. And there's some stipulation about the HOH is not allowed to say like that it wasn't their noms.
Yeah. So what they can say is that a power has been unleashed. And
it will be announced to the house guests that a power is unleashed. Right. And so like Bailey's taught with Fessy talking about like basically trying to like make it seem like it might have been that person's noms and like setting up drama for the next week so that they're even safe the next week. So it's an interesting it's really powerful and it's got a lot of possibilities on what they can do with it. So
are you a fan, and I'll ask this of both of you, are you a fan of like really powerful twists, or would you rather see like are you guys purists? Would you guys like to see a game with fewer twists and like less powerful twists?
I'll go first. So I think that given the right season, having a really powerful twist would be awesome. Like this, like if the stuff that's going on with this season had happened last season, I wouldn't be happy because like just last season's cast, they weren't very strong. Versus even though it's only been 3 weeks so far, like this cast seems to be so much stronger than BB19. So I think that there's actual strategy that's going to be played into it. But on the other hand, like I would really, really love to see a season where they don't even have like a double eviction. Like straight up, it's a totally pure game, 100%. So like going back all the way to BB2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
So I think that'd be really interesting only because everyone like plans for the double eviction and they're like, okay, let's try to keep in like these people where we'll target them during the double eviction, like a strong person. Like let's say if Brett survives this, they might be like, okay, let's save Brett for the double eviction. But then that double eviction never comes, so then like it screws up their game. So I think that would be really interesting to see.
So we know Kelly's a purist.
Well, no, or having like the big twist, like with a strong cast that can provide the strategy. Okay. So either pure or have really strong strategy. One of the two.
Let me give you. I'm going to try to corner you in here. Are you happy with this cast that this power that Bailey got is in the house?
Yes, because the stipulation that she has to do it before noms.
Isn't it like during noms? Like she makes the nominations.
But people don't know that it's her. So she has to go into the diary room before. So like if she's put onto the block and she doesn't realize that she's going to be put onto the block, she could technically go home with this power. Just like how Tyler could technically go home with his power.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So that's why I'm okay with this twist. If it was a twist where she was able to use it like after noms, or she could stand up after she's been nominated and be like, just kidding, no, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Then that would piss me off. Like so it's a very like balanced power, which I'm happy about.
Nice. Okay. What do you think? What do you think about powers in general, Ryan? Do you want to see more twists, less twists? Are you happy with the twists that are currently in the season?
Yeah, so if you asked me 2 years ago, I would be like the same thing you said, like no, like just give me no twists. Like I'm okay with doubles, but like I just hate twists. Like the way like some people have gone home because of twists. Like I would prefer to see like just a bare bones season with like just no twists at all. But like in the last 2 years, in the last couple seasons, I've like started to embrace the more like just good feeds and good drama that Big Brother can bring.
Right.
So like I would say I'm like 10% like this is a fun twist and it's gonna make for like craziness on the feeds after and like just complete chaos, which is like fun. But like I'm still like definitely 90% in the camp of like just stop screwing with the game. It's an amazing game already. Like I love it the way it is. Like it doesn't need any of this extra.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that's actually a pretty good transition, Ryan. You talked a little bit about chaos and somebody who's sort of a chaotic neutral in the house that we haven't gotten to talk about yet is JC. Let's talk about what JC's sort of gaffe in tonight's episode and what that sort of says about what he's able to get away with in this house. So somehow he gets into a conversation with Fessy and Tyler where he believes that 0.2% of the population is left-handed, and he like sticks to his guns, and it's amazing. And we see like this behavior where he just like floats around and says whatever he wants without any consequences sort of follow him throughout the house. What do you guys think of watching JC on the feeds? Are you guys as sort of flabbergasted that he's able to sort of make these outlandish claims and tell people they're like crappy Big Brother players and do all these
so
things?
Can you go, because like you were telling me about that, Jacob, can you go more in depth on who JC was telling is a crappy Big Brother player right here, please?
So JC is doing what he does, and he just floats from room to room, and he's giving like lowdowns to everybody. Right? He's like, "Hey Bailey, we need to talk, honey. We need to talk." And you're not doing a very good job in this game. Like nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody likes you, and you can step it up because I believe in you, and we should work together. And Bailey's like, did he really just say what he said? Doesn't really care. Doesn't view him as a threat. Like just is like, oh, that's just JC, and it kind of is flabbergasting. Like,
I don't know when the housemates are gonna wake up. Like it blows me away. I think that it's a combination of the fact that he's the perfect trifecta to be able to pull this off.
Yeah.
If he wasn't a little person, if he wasn't gay, and if he didn't have, especially if he didn't have the accent, like any one of those, you take him away.
Yeah.
I don't think that people would be as positive to what he's saying.
Yeah, saying or doing in the house. It's
exactly.
Crazy.
Like because for example, if I was in there, like some of the stuff that he's done, I have been like, Jacob, I've talked to you about how upset I've been. I'm pretty sure I've talked
the whole
podcast
knows that you're upset with JC's behavior.
But it kind of just still blows me away that even after all that, like he doesn't have like any semblance of a target on him whatsoever. So I don't want to say keep doing what you're doing, but
it's working for him.
It's working, but maybe he needs to tone it down just a little bit, because if he keeps doing this, like if he keeps doing it over and over, people are gonna start to pick up and be like, wait a minute, he keeps telling me that I'm a crappy Big Brother player and whatever else it is that he's doing. So he needs to go into the perceptions that people have of him in the house, but don't go into it too far, because that's when it'll start to turn on him.
Yeah.
Which will happen even if he does or doesn't do it, it's going to happen after jury. Like JC is going to be there till jury, no matter what.
Right. What do you think, Ryan? What do you think of JC and his antics and how it sort of plays out in the Big Brother house? What makes it work? What's going to be his downfall, if any, that you see right now?
Yeah, I'm actually a decent fan of how JC's playing. It's surprising because he didn't seem like he knew a lot about BB coming in, but he's built a lot of strong relationships. It seems like he has deep game talks with a lot of people. It seems like a lot of people trust him and like give him information.
Yeah.
Like all the weird like sexual things that he's done aside, which seem to have trickled off. It does seem to have trickled off though. Like I think maybe they had a talk with him.
They
did.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty impressive to be honest. I saw Andy Herron tweeted that JC's playing an amazing game and reminds him of himself.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
But when you do have all those really strong connections, it is you are starting to build your target too. So like you guys said, it could all fall apart, but it's interesting. He's worked his way into the good graces of a lot of the house guests on both sides.
Yeah. So here I will say that he reminds me of two very dangerous players that cross Big Brother formats. So he reminds me of Andy. Like, he's able to go in any room and spill whatever he wants, and nobody seems to put a target on him for it. And two, he also reminds me of William from BB Can 5. In that, like, the accent sort of hides what game they're playing. And, like, it's sort of cute and lovable, and like because people didn't want to evict William.
I am almost positive that if it hadn't been a triple eviction, if it had only been a double,
and if it
would have been the person who left.
Kevin,
and Will would have stayed. Dre would have been the person who left.
If Kevin wasn't the person to put the finger on getting William evicted, he would have been set up for a deeper run. But
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just talking about Big Brother Canada, there's also a flavor of Aika from BB Can 5, I think, too.
Ooh!
Because Aika was all about, like, she would just be straight up blunt to your face, like, you don't have the votes. Like, a lot of just, like, weirdly honest conversations that people don't generally do in Big Brother. And I do think JC has a bit more deception in his game than Aika. Like, Aika was really hard down that path.
Yeah.
I do think JC does lie to people and like tries to manipulate to get what he wants. But like we just talked about that conversation with Bailey, like that's something Aika would do. Like listen, like straight up, and Aika gained a lot of trust from other house guests because they knew that she was being straight up with them and honest even when it seemed wrong for her to do so. So there is value in that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Another player that got a little bit more screen time this episode is doing a really good job of sort of laying low is KC. What do you guys think of what you've seen from KC this week on the feeds and in the episode? We saw her game talk a little bit more in the episode, but there's been some definite game talk on the feeds.
So Casey basically talked no game at all until like literally 2 days ago. This conversation of Brett versus Winston, if those two are the ones that stay on the block, seems to have like woken her up in a sense. And yeah, so she I thought it was fine that she wasn't talking much game because she finds herself in a really strong, really loyal alliance. And like if that's the case, then you kind of don't want to like just increase your target if you're already kind of safe by having that safety blanket. But she is diving into it this week, and she, you can see that she does have that strategic element that we weren't so sure about before the last 2 days. So yeah, I'm impressed with Casey's game this week.
I found it really interesting that because it totally surprised me. It was that her and Tyler have this conversation about like going all the way together, which it's really hard to take any stock into those conversations. But it was really interesting to see like that they seemed serious about like, hey, we're good for each other's games. Let's continue to work. You can talk to different people that I can't talk to, and let's share information. Now we know that Tyler already has that relationship with JC as well, but it's really cool to see that both Tyler and Casey are willing to think about the game long term. And it's really nice to see because one of the only positive adjectives that I've heard about Casey on an episode up to this point was that she's got kind eyes. And like I think that came from Rockstar. Rockstar was like, you know what? I really trust Casey. She's got kind eyes. And like that was pretty much it for her for the first few weeks, and that's all she's needed is those eyes have won her safety for the first couple of weeks, and it's been amazing to watch.
Well, I really hope because I haven't been watching the feeds too much,
Okay.
And it's been more of the episode. So I really hope that, considering she just started talking game 2 days ago, which is basically after Noms, that we will start to see her more in the episodes. Because if she, like right now, I just have this perception that she's in the house, she's not really doing much. Other than she kind of fell into this L6 alliance.
Right.
So hopefully she'll continue to do that as like a more of a. I don't want her to go, even though like she's not my draft, but I don't want her to go. I don't want her to go like super hardcore into game mode. Just like a little bit here and there. That way she can stay relevant enough to show that she actually deserves to be in the house. Like as a viewer, I want to see that she deserves to be in there, and she's not just there for a vacation.
Yeah. I don't think that she's gonna be a what was her name? My goodness.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to be a Gen City. I think she's really into. I mean, I didn't watch the feeds during Gen City season, to be fair, but I feel like she is somebody who's shown that she's got the capability of talking game. But it's really nice that she can just talk to people about cereal and like and sort of distract people from the game. I think that's a valuable asset for her as well. She's able to sort of be the bro and like. And just have a normal conversation, because like every time I turn on the feed, she's talking about football or cereal or up until this week. So hopefully, yeah, she just sort of continues to lay low, but really sprinkle in conversation where she needs to. I don't see anybody targeting her for a while, so it'll be interesting to see when and if that happens.
I dig it.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Yeah.
This upcoming like veto ceremony, what do you guys think is going to happen?
Well,
so we talk about who won the veto?
Yeah, I think we should.
We haven't said it yet, and
we should.
If you don't want to hear, like, stop watching right now.
Yeah, we're gonna go into
forever. Hold your peace.
Yeah.
So the winner of the veto is Scotty. Yes, that was true, right?
Yep.
That is correct.
We could have totally just both lied to Kelly right now. And then, like,
I know. Oh my god, that would have been horrible. I get off the podcast and be like, I hate you guys.
Oh man.
So Scotty won.
Right.
What is he planning on doing?
It looks like he's gonna freeze it up, and you know he put us two guys up. He didn't really have a bigger plan beyond that. No one's really pushed him otherwise to do so. Like, you know, we've seen throughout the season that Tyler's a lot of the times the one trying to push the HOH in certain directions. He hasn't done that so far, besides that first try. So it looks like Scotty's just going to freeze it up, and one of those two boys is going to go home.
Now, if L6 knows what's good for them, they need to get rid of Winston.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about the potential vote?
Yeah. Because it's crazy right now, right? You were telling me that it's sort of nebulous right now, Ryan, right?
Yeah, it's pretty in flux. Like, Tyler hasn't pushed hard either way, although he has been having some talks with people on the other side, and it seems like they definitely want Brett to go. So, like, Rockstar is leading the, like, Brett needs to go. He's way more threatening charge. And it feels like Tyler may be agreeing with that. JC wants Brett to go right now.
Okay.
So they've had some talks, but Tyler hasn't really pushed anyone like hard in direction that he wants. And even L6 for a while was like saying like, this is our time to get out Brett. Like maybe we should just do it. But honestly, I think Rachel just like likes Brett maybe more than like as a friend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
she super does.
She kind of led the charge, and then they all seem to be coming around that like we're all big threats. We're all really loyal. Like it's better for us to have our better players in than to like start getting them out now. So it looks like those guys are going to try to lean towards getting Winston out. And then I think it's going to come down to Tyler because JC and Sam are going to be big votes. And I think both of them are like Tyler has the ability to influence those votes and his own vote, obviously, too. And those three, whichever way they go, if L6 does decide they want to keep Brett, those three, so basically just Tyler, in my opinion, will be the deciding factor. There's a long time to go still, but that's how it looks right now to me.
So I have another question. Will Sam use her power this week?
Yeah, that's another thing that they're talking about. It seems like Tyler really wants them to not use it because he wants it for next week if one of them gets in trouble. Basically, he's like, if they use it on Brett and then Tyler goes home next week, he's just going to be so pissed. Like, it seems like he just doesn't want to consider that possibility.
Right.
But that makes next week a really weird week too, which
It's
Sam
gonna make it
knows,
so boring.
as you saw in the episode. Yeah, it's going to be bad. Yeah, I don't know.
As a viewer, it's going to be so boring to know that the actual eviction doesn't really matter.
I'm really surprised that they decided to do this. It does make for a boring
week. It was during BB16 during like Final Four when Frankie was HOH, and there was like a rewind button that was hit, or it was a rewind week, and so Frankie was HOH. He did all of his noms, and then that was totally canceled, and then they had like the redo for the HOH. Like it was basically a double eviction, but only one person went home because it was the rewind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I remember that vaguely. It's been a while.
I definitely remember a dead week. I don't really remember the specifics, but I remember like there was a week where it was like, this is so stupid. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
At least with this, like, there is a chance they can go home.
Right.
So, like, the person who might go, first of all, the person might not know, but, like, say Tyler is in trouble. Like, he's still going to be working pretty hard, I think, to avoid getting evicted because it's still a chance he can just be out. And, like, he's not going to take that lightly. So, it's not like a full, easy reset week, but.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
What do you guys think the chance is?
We saw they accidentally on the first week. They went to the feed right after Steve had been evicted. They went to the feed of the Power App room, and it showed the competition. So it looks like it's going to be a relatively easy competition, especially because Sam had the opportunity to go home, and you know that production didn't want their favorite to go home that week, like the very first week. That would have been horrible. So I have a very strong feeling that it's going to be an easy competition and they're going to get to go back into the house.
I don't have faith that production won't change it, though, depending on what's going on. To be honest, they could. I guess I'm a little. What's the word for that? I don't know. I can't think of
paranoid.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, who knows? I think they're gonna want the person to come back, no matter what. Like, it's just exciting TV for them to come back versus just like, oh, we had this big competition and like it didn't matter.
Right.
So.
I also sort of think that, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like looking at the specific notion of Bailey's power, like where she can't tell it, or where the HOH can't say anything about those not being his or her noms. I feel like that's just so that CBS can get a 30-second wow shot, because I feel like.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like after that happens, somebody's gonna leak that it was, or somebody's gonna know that, or leak that that those weren't the HOH's noms, or it's just gonna be obvious.
Yeah.
They're
gonna say there was a power used, so like the HOH is totally gonna be like, I mean, like just come on,
okay,
like, how can you really hide that? That's pretty absurd, I think.
So what if? And I think that this would be amazing strategy. What if Bailey, like, it's getting towards the end of, because she can only use it till there's 8 people are left in the house. Right. So let's say that she becomes HOH and her power is about to be up. What if she ends up using her power to actually trade out the nominees? And so she can put up who she actually wants put up, but then be like, I don't know who did it because it was the power that did it. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know.
Ooh, I just realized what you were saying. I like that.
I don't get it.
Okay.
That's amazing.
So I'm slow today. Like, tell me.
So let's say that Bailey wants out Tyler and Sam.
Okay. On her own HOH.
She really wants to put up Tyler and Sam, but she can't go against that. So then she nominates someone else, but then she uses her power to actually put up Tyler and Sam. So then she can be like, those weren't my nomination. I mean, she wouldn't be able to do that. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, you need to be on BP21. I'm in it. Let's go.
Yep. Let's do it. Team Kelly all the way.
That's devious. Downright devious. I love it.
Oh, man. That's fantastic. Oh, man. Yeah. So, yeah, Team Kelly, hashtag Team Kelly all the way.
For sure. I'm in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just got to get on there. Just got to get past that first, like... Watch 30 seconds of my video at least.
How many times have you applied, Kelly?
This season it was my 4th time. But to be fair, I also applied. So I applied for 17, 18, or I guess 18, 19, 20, and I also applied for BBOTT. I don't know if it went through though to the right people. So like I'm not sure about that one. I've made 4 videos. That's what I've done.
Oh wow, yeah. So yeah, we're hoping for a Kelly Gupley BB21 appearance.
Yes, definitely.
Oh man,
this podcast would be crazy.
Yeah, it would be insane.
I know.
It would just be a fanboy podcast. Like, just only rooting on you.
Oh,
like,
man,
no objectivity.
Yeah, we'd all race to draft her first. Oh man, that would be the dream.
That would be super cool.
Yeah, I feel like Ryan, you should definitely apply next season as well.
Yeah, I actually did. Yeah, I applied this season. I went to the open casting call though. I think if I'm getting on, it's definitely a video. But
for sure.
Yeah.
Dude,
the open casting call is the worst.
Show. Yeah, for sure.
Does anybody ever get cast off of those things? Like often open casting?
JC was at a casting call. I don't know.
He was say on Reddit that they've seen like people that made it. They were like, "Oh, I saw that. I met them at the casting call." Okay. But like, I think mostly not though. Yeah, mostly. It's so many recruits even. Like,
there's so many
people that don't even apply. Yeah.
I would honestly say, like, if you're a fan of Big Brother, just go to the casting call just so like you can see what it's about.
Right.
But then also go make a video.
Yeah.
Because like that, like just go to be like, oh, okay, so this is what it's about. And now that I actually want to get on, go make your video. That way you can have complete control over what's going on.
Yeah.
And the casting call was like literally a blast too. So it was like super fun. So just for that, you should go.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I think a video is the more realistic way to actually go for it.
You know what? I will say that Christmas breaking her leg last season really opened up the door for me to apply for Big Brother. So, like, if you can win a running comp without being able to run, like if you can convince people to throw it to you, I'm gonna.
No, if you can have Paul convince people to throw it to you.
No, see, Kelly, I would convince people to throw it to me.
I know, right? You're definitely a lot more manipulative than Christmas ever was in the house.
For sure.
It would be so much fun. It would be so interesting to see how they would handle the HOH room, because somebody would have to carry my happy self up there, you know, like. I feel like that'd be fun to watch as a feature. So I'm hoping I can get on.
You would crush, dude. You should definitely apply for sure.
Yeah, definitely gonna apply for next season. But
so we find out if the veto's going to be used tomorrow. Probably not going to be. So then probably Brett and Winston are up. Don't know who's going to go home yet. There's a lot of game left to be played.
The big shot Scotty took is going to land.
Yeah, somebody's going home. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm proud of Scotty this week.
Yeah, I mean, it took balls, man. For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, man, anything else we should talk about before we wrap up this wonderful podcast?
I think I'm good. I'm pumped for Thursday.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm so pumped for the eviction.
Oh, wait. No, there is one more thing. Jacob, it's your birthday.
Yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I said happy birthday on Facebook, but I forgot.
You did. Yeah. So I'm 27 now, which means that if I apply next season, I'm officially like part of the older demographic.
Oh my god, I am too.
Of casting.
Same.
So like you just gotta put me in. Yeah, we can do it. We're interesting enough.
Yes. And then Thursday, fingers crossed, Kelly's gonna be on the podcast, and it's his birthday. So it's a birthday podcast fiesta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now.
Absolutely. I feel like it's gonna be great once we have Ryan and Senior Kelly on the same podcast. I feel like they're gonna vibe really well.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
that should be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it would definitely be a bromance. Like there'd be a podcast bromance happening. So I'm looking forward to it.
I love it.
So yeah, but anyway, that's enough rambling for this episode. We'll be back for eviction night to go over who's evicted between the bros, and yeah.
Awesome. It'll be great. We'll see you guys then. Later. Bye.